Shalom. Okay, we're back at it again. Tonight we're going to do another quick bread. And this is going to be that whole wheat, 100% whole wheat bread. A lot of you ladies that have just got through with Passover, you may still have a bag of that 100% stone ground whole wheat flour in your house. A lot of times we don't use this after Passover because it's such a hard flour. And most of us, if you're going to do any baking or anything, you're going to use some unbleached or bleached flour. This is 100% stone ground. So we're going to do a little quick bread that we can use this, and you don't have to throw it away or let it sit until next Passover in your house. So, and this is only a 5 ingredients recipe. 5. Quick bread, and the secret, no kneading. You don't have to knead nothing. Okay, so you have 4 cups of whole wheat flour. You're going to have a tablespoon and a half of molasses. You don't have to use molasses. You can use a sweetener like a honey or agave, any of those different type of sweeteners, but I happen to like molasses. And you're going to use your instant yeast. It's also going to take 2 cups of warm water. When I say warm, baby bath warm. You know how you put your baby in there? You're not going to put it too hot. You don't want it cold. You want it just warm enough that the baby's going to cool in it. Okay. Also, a teaspoon of salt. In this bowl, you're going to have your 4 cups of flour. If you find that your flour is a little packed, you can sift it through a strainer or something to just make it loosen up. That's 4 cups of flour. Now, you're going to want to activate your yeast in your 2 cups of water. 1. And I'm doing this over the sink because it's a little warm. 2 cups of water, and you're just going to sprinkle your yeast in there. Some of my yeast is sticking, and you want that yeast to start activating. It's going to start bubbling up. You can swirl it around a little bit just so all the yeast, all that goodness gets in there, and it's going to start activating itself. It takes a few minutes. So while I have that there, I'm going to take my teaspoon of salt. Just put it in my flour. Kind of mix that in there. And my yeast is really kind of proof in here. Only takes a few minutes. You can stir that around a little bit. Really like to use a spatula. You see, that's your yeast. Now you're going to add your molasses to your yeast. Tablespoon, good tablespoon. I said about a tablespoon and a half, so I'm going to just add a little more in there. Say just a little more. Tablespoon and a half of molasses. Right into my yeast, and I want that to dissolve into your yeast. Okay. Now I'm going to start working that into my flour. And it's going to be sticky, but it's going to work itself all in there. Just going to stir it all up in there good. So it's not all dry. And if you want, you can start working it with your hands. You're really not going to need this, but you're going to mix it. You're going to make sure that it's mixed. Now it's all mixed in together. I'm going to take my grease pan and pour my dough out in there. And I'm going to press it out. And now you're just going to cover this up and let it sit in a warm place for about a half hour. Not a hot place. I know your stove is usually on. My stove is on. You don't want to sit it on hot because it'll start cooking. We don't want it to cook. So I'm just going to sit it by the stove for me because it's warm enough in here. And I'll use parchment paper to cover it. I don't like to cover with tissue because that usually will stick to your dough. I cover it with a little piece of parchment paper, but I also meant to tell you, I use glass when I bake. I love to bake in glass because usually things don't stick to it. But if you're using a metal pan, a metal baking dish, I would take a piece of parchment paper and cut it to the length of the bottom of the pan. Oil it well enough, which doesn't look like I oiled it well enough, but yes I did. And just cover it up, but when you bake it with the parchment paper in there, it makes it easier to take it out. So we're going to let that sit for about a half hour, and that half hour is going to seem like a minute when we come back with the magic of the camera. Thank you. Okay, we're back, and that magic half an hour has passed. So we're going to cover, and as you can see, the bread has doubled in the bowl. In the baking dish. This is about as high as it's going to get, okay? Because we're not rising it again. We're not pouring it out, but the bread has doubled in the pan. And now we're going to sit it in our oven. I don't like to sit my glass dishes on the hot. We're going to sit this in the middle of the oven on a 375 oven. And it's going to bake approximately 40 minutes. Our 40 minutes has gone by. And we're going to take our loaf of whole wheat bread out of the oven. Woo! 100%. Got that hollow sound. Okay. This is wheat bread, and it's not going to come out with a sheen on it, but we can add a little butter. Or we can add a little egg wash. Egg wash will give it that little sheen. I like the smell of hot bread and butter, so I like the little butter on there. But we're going to have to let this cool, and once I get it out of the pan, then we're going to let it sit for about an hour or so to cool down. And we're going to let it sit a little covered so that it won't have a crusty top. Okay, so I want you to see that you can make bread out of any flour, and this is our whole wheat. Look at that, nice, got a good consistency. I'm gonna cut into it right now. It's cool for about an hour, and there we go. We got a loaf of 100% whole wheat. So when you go to the store and you're looking for your 100% whole wheat flour, your 100% whole wheat bread, there you have it right there. 100% whole wheat. Now I'm going to taste it. Like you see on all those shows, everybody's stuff tastes perfect, but it really tastes good. I want the cameraman to see how he likes it. Is it good? All right, you see that thumb? Thumbs up. 100% whole wheat. No kneading. 5 ingredients. Yes, it takes a little longer, but you didn't have to do anything. You had it rise for half an hour, bake for 40 minutes, and it's done. 100% whole wheat. Good. And it's a wrap.